What is up, guys? I'm Remote Night Owl, and I hope that you are all having a wonderful day. So today we're back with another episode of Item Breakdowns, and last episode we covered Trinity Force with Bruisers and Fighters, so today we're going to be keeping things top lane and jungle focused, and we're going to be focusing on a new Mythic tank item called Turbo Chemtank. And as I had mentioned in the last video, Season 11 brings a lot of new play styles as well as exciting options to itemize against whatever team comp you play against, with Turbo Chemtank being no exception, a hard engage tool for tanks that also provides a lot of AoE DPS. This is a great option to add to your kit if you ever need that hard engage. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So taking a look at the base stats, the first thing we see is that there's 15 ability haste, which is equivalent to about 13% cooldown reduction. Secondly, we have 25 armor. Thirdly, we have 350 health, and finally we have 50 magic resist. So the first thing we notice is that there are no offensive stats at all, so that tells us that this is in fact a tank item. And the other thing to note with this item is that there is more magic resistance than there is armor. So what this tells us is that if we're in a lane matchup where the enemy is AP, such as Mordekaiser, or the enemy team is AP heavy, meaning they have 3+ champions that deal magic damage, this would be our item that we would want to focus on versus the other tank items. So now that the base stats are out of the way, let's take a look at its passive. So it is unique, meaning that you cannot build any other Immolate items, and Immolate is akin to the old Sunfire Cape. And it reads as follows: taking or dealing damage activates this passive for 3 seconds. Deal 12 to 30 based on level plus 1% of your bonus health as magic damage per second to nearby enemies, increased by 25% against minions and 150% against monsters. So this is good for shoving lane minions as well as farming jungles. And it is a mythic item, so the mythic reads: empowers your other legendary items with 5% tenacity and slow resistance. So if you build 4 legendary items, which is what you should be doing, by late game you're going to have an additional 20% tenacity on top of boots, runes, and masteries. In addition to a passive component, this item also has an active component, meaning whichever item slot it sits in, it can be used as if it was an ability. It is unique, just like the passive, and it reads as follows: Supercharged. For 4 seconds, grants 75% bonus movement speed and ghosting, which means you can move through other units as well as champions, when moving towards a turret or visible enemy champion within 2,000 unit radius. After the duration, or when an enemy champion is within 225 unit range, you emit a shockwave, slowing enemy champions within a 450 unit range by 40% for 2 seconds, and this does have a 90-second cooldown. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the build path of this item and the order of importance in which you build the epic items that feed into this mythic. Now the first item that we want to build that builds into Turbo Chemtank is Balmy's Cinder. It grants 300 health, and just like before, it has the Immolate passive. You deal 15 plus 1% of your bonus health as magic damage per second to nearby enemies, increased by 50% against minions and 100% against jungle monsters. Now there are 3 reasons as to why we'd want to build this item first. First of all, with the 300 health, this allows us to soak more damage. Secondly, with the Immolate passive in the jungle context, it allows us to farm jungle monsters faster by essentially doubling the Immolate damage. And thirdly, in the top lane context, the Immolate damage allows us to shove lanes faster, break freezes, as well as increase our DPS against enemy champions in trades. Now the second item that we build depends on the situation that we are currently in. If we're in the jungle context or we're up against an AD matchup in the top lane, we want to build the cloth armor next for that extra durability against jungle auto attacks or the attack damage from the AD top laner. However, if we are in a situation where we are against an AP top laner, we would want to reverse that order and build the Negatron cloak second and the cloth armor third. And then after we get an additional 1,000 gold, once all 3 epic items are built, we will have our Turbo Chemtank finished. Now that we've taken care of the build path of this item, I want to get into the visuals and the animations. So looking at the Balmy's Cinder first, you can see that just like before, it has the circle of fire below the champion, just like the old animation. However, the difference is that now that you have to be in combat in order for the damage to proc, you can see here that when Scion stands next to a target dummy, it does not take damage. However, when I enter combat, we see 2 things. First of all, we see the damage start to tick away, but also we see the animation get bigger, and it looks like that the flame doubles around the champion. This is our indicator that we are now in combat. Now, since Turbo Chemtank has a passive and an active animation, we're going to look at the passive animation first. So, just like the Immolate on the Balmy Cinder, this also functions the same way. So when you're out of combat, you see that you have just a green symbol underneath you, showing that you do have this item completely built. However, when you enter combat, just like with the Balmy Cinder, you see two things. First of all, you see the damage once again start to tick away at the target dummy, but then you also see this toxic green gas cloud swirl around the bottom of your champion, once again showing that you have in fact initiated combat. And now for the active portion of this item. So when you activate Turbo Chemtank, you see a few things. First of all, you see that Scion starts to move faster and gets the ghosting. This is noted by the fact that he can pass through the ally dummies. Secondly, he gets a bigger green swirl animation around his torso, which signifies that this item is active while it's charging towards the enemies. And finally, when we get close enough to our enemy dummies, the item detonates, thus dealing the slow in a big green noxious cloud. And one quick thing to note, the reason I chose Scion for this example is when you charge up Turbo Chemtank and it detonates on Scion, he explodes, thus becoming cyanide. So to sum things up with Turbo Chemtank, first of all, we have a brand new mythic item that is good to build against either an AP lane matchup or AP heavy teams due to the extra magic resist. Secondly, we have a Immolate passive that deals tons of bonus damage to monsters, so this is great for tanks farming the jungle. And thirdly, we have an insane initiation and slow ability with the active on Turbo Chemtank. So if you need that hard engage with whatever tank that you're playing, this is the item that you want to build. Well guys, thank you very much for watching. Once again, with Season 11 underway, I have a video for every item in the game coming down the pipe for you. Don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, as well as for some awesome video game photography on Instagram. Head on over there to check me out. Well guys, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see each other again real soon. Have a wonderful day.